What is Nernst potential? The Nernst potential is that potential at which there is no net diffusion of ions. So you can say that it is a kind of an equilibrium potential. And Nernst potential is for single ion. It is for single ion. For example, Nernst potential for any ion can be plus minus 65 log of concentration of ion inside divided by concentration of ion outside. So this is concentration inside and concentration outside. So every ion has their own Nernst potential. Potassium minus 90 to minus 94, sodium plus 61 to 65, chloride minus 70 to minus 65, and calcium is plus 132. Plus 132. So you see that the Nernst potential is closest. The Nernst potential of potassium is closest to the RMP of the tissues. So if we want to write the RMP of different ions, it is always in millivolts. Skeletal muscle minus 90 millivolts. Cardiac में ventricles is minus 90. Smooth muscle is less negative. It is between minus 60 millivolts to minus 40 millivolts. SA node minus 65 millivolts to minus 55 millivolts. Then RBC minus 10 millivolts. Then your inner ear minus 65 millivolts. Then the photoreceptors, that is the rods and cones, minus 40 millivolts in dark, minus 70 millivolts as light falls on them. Right? So now we will look on to the simple one-liners, then I will teach you the action potential. See, iron contributing maximum to osmolarity is sodium. Regulation of ECF is sodium. No contribution to RMP is sodium. So sodium is basically associated with your depolarization and with your transport, that is your co-transport and your counter transport. But the ion which is most diffusible at rest, okay, and contributes maximum to RMP. This is your potassium ion. Okay, potassium ion. So osmolality, ECF volume, depolarizations transport sodium, but no contribution to RMP. RMP is contributed mainly by the sodium channels. What is the cause? Leakiness. I told you that the maximum leakiness is by sodium channels. Maximum leakiness is for the potassium channels. इतना हुआ सबका? Done with this much? Yes? Now let's start with action potential. हुआ क्या बेटा? जैसे देखो, for example, if I want to ask you a question on action potential, like what I'm going to ask you, which of the following is responsible for the change between B to D? Yes. बाकी बच्चे, which of the following is responsible from D to E? You should be able to know the stage or the phases of the action potential and the ionic bases of action potential. Phases and the ionic bases of action potential. So see now, बाद में वो करेंगे. Now let us take this minus 70 millivolts and plus 35. For example, it is neuron. अरे neuron का हमने RMP लिखा नहीं. Just add on. Neuron is minus 70. Neuron is minus 70 millivolts. Neuron minus 70. ठीक है? Now, so minus 70 millivolt means it is a neuron because it is a spike. It is a spike. It is not a plateau. Plateau हमको कहाँ मिला था? Cardiac में. That is not, it is a plateau. It is a spike. Now, as soon as you give a stimulus, okay, so you gave a stimulus. That means you brought about a change in the membrane potential. Now that change in the membrane potential will open both sodium and potassium channels, both. But more opened are your sodium because they are fast voltage gated channels. They are fast voltage gated channels. So meanwhile the potassium are thinking that I will open the sodium channels, they open. And as the sodium channels open, there is influx of sodium. Influx of sodium. So this minus 70 will become less negative. It will cross the threshold. So it may become around minus 55. Right? So it will cross the threshold. It will cross the threshold of excitation. It has to cross the threshold of excitation. If it does not cross, it will become a local potential and it will die off. So it will cross the threshold of excitation. And it results in a positive feedback cycle. What is that positive feedback cycle? That opening of few sodium channels will open more and more of sodium channels. मतलब few done, suppose 10-15 got opened and there was positivity. That positivity will result in opening of more and more and more and so many sodium channels. There will be so much of sodium coming inside. This will cause the inside of the membrane to become positive, or the inside of the cell will become positive, and that upstroke is called as depolarization. That upstroke is called as depolarization. So what is the cause of depolarization? The cause of depolarization is the positive feedback cycle, which is also called as the Hodgkin's cycle. It is also called as the Hodgkin's cycle, that is causing a large amount of sodium to come inside, creating positivity, and positivity creating an upstroke and depolarization. So what is the cause of depolarization? Fast voltage gated sodium channels. Fast voltage gated sodium channels, and remember it is fast and it is voltage gated. दोनों बातें आपको ध्यान रखनी है. Yes, good, very good. Sodium influx. Now what will happen is, look up now. When you overshoot, when there is an overshoot and you reach a peak of around plus 35 millivolts, when you reach this peak, so at this peak of plus 35 millivolts, the sodium channels will close because they are voltage gated. They can sense the voltage, so they know that at what voltage they will open and at what voltage they will close. Sodium channels close, that means now there is no sodium influx. But at the same time, there will be opening of slow voltage gated potassium channels. Slow voltage gated potassium channels, and there will be potassium efflux. Potassium efflux. This is your repolarization. This is your repolarization. It is very important for the repolarization to occur, because repolarization means you are getting the membrane back towards RMP. Otherwise, membrane will be positive, and itna positivity is not going to work, because you cannot bring the next action potential till you come to your RMP. जब तक आप RMP पे नहीं आओगे तब तक आपका नेक्स्ट पोटेंशियल कैसे आएगा, है ना? Now this stage is called as after hyperpolarization, where you can see that the RMP has become, the potential, membrane potential has become more negative than RMP. So what is the cause of this hyperpolarization? Hyperpolarization में the membrane potential is more negative. The membrane potential is more negative than RMP. इसका मतलब RMP जो -70 था उससे भी ज्यादा वो नेगेटिव हो गया है. What is the cause of this hyperpolarization? We have seen that the potassium channels, they are slow. They are slow to open, they are slow to close. So there is a continued efflux of potassium. रख दे. There is a continued efflux of potassium because the potassium channels are slow to open and slow to close. Right? Slow to open and slow to close. and RMP will always be established by the sodium potassium pump. RMP will be established by the sodium potassium pump. So there is depolarization, fast voltage gated sodium channels. At plus 35, the sodium channels will close and the potassium channels will open, and potassium will be going out of the cell. There is more negativity at the phase of after hyperpolarization because of the continued efflux of potassium, right? And RMP will be established by the sodium potassium pump.